Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of EduTalks by AB. Today is a very special episode because today I'm there with the youngest member of parliament in India, Pushpendra Saroj. Hi Pushpendra, welcome to EduTalks by AB.
Thank you for having me.
So without wasting much time of the policymaker, we will delve into the first question. What made your early entry into politics at the age of 25 when you were elected as a member of parliament? People generally kind of choose, okay, which place should I hang out at, what movie should I watch? What made your entry into politics? What was your inspiration?
I think that's a very interesting question to start with. If I remember that, like you rightly said, people my age, they're still thinking of hanging out with friends, which college to go and do their doctorate in, or probably starting off in some other field that they want to go and do a good job in. But for me, it was a personal self-commitment. As everybody knows, it's very out there that my father has also been in politics, and he got ill during Corona, and it was a very tough time back in 2020. And for 2 years, his lungs and everything, they were really bad, in a very bad situation. In 2022, we had the state elections. So he could not campaign very actively. That's when my entire family, we got out into the field to campaign on behalf of him. And that was the very first time that I went out to campaign as well. The very first time that I stepped out in the field after graduating. And I really liked it. I think people don't enjoy it that much when you're outside the field, but when you go in the field, I think people do really enjoy it. Like meeting, it's a part and parcel of the game. Like meeting people, understanding their problems, you get to meet people from all cultures, all backgrounds. So politics was there, instilled in me for a very long time, but it wasn't actively there. And then there was this whole idea of, creating a record, making history that pushed it further. So it was me who made a commitment to myself, made a commitment to my people, and pushed myself into politics.
Well, you definitely created history in that bit. So, when we speak about shaping India's future, generally, a lot of students, while they are studying, they face a very crisis point that they don't know how to manage what is being taught in a classroom to what is more employability oriented. So, considering your journey, how do you advocate bridging that gap on what is taught in a classroom vis-a-vis the journey to a boardroom?
See, I think so. We've grown as a society a lot. And it's just not after coming into politics, I had this thought before that as well. Infrastructurally, we are growing, economically, we are growing, but we've never grown in the field of education that much. There's still that gap of having, especially in India, having educated the old system, the old style, the way that our forefathers used to study, with a book and a pen and a teacher, and probably the traditional methods. And that's why people, when we studied abroad, you also studied abroad, there's a lot of self-reliance, self-work that they give you. And you have to do a lot of research work. But here in India, it's a lot more book work, theoretical study.
Absolutely.
So we need to bridge that gap that we are having, especially in the field of education. Because after 12th, when you graduate 12th, and then you go on and you think, and half of the people that you interview or go for a survey, and they would say that they don't know what they want to do in life. They just want to do a degree, an undergraduate degree, particularly if they come from the background of commerce, and they'll go and do a degree in marketing or accounts or finance or business education. That's business management, I think, is the most popular course for Indians abroad. I don't know what they teach in business management, but apparently, unfortunately, it is the most popular course. And then if you go from the science background, I think being a medical doctor, being an engineer, these are jobs where you have a clear path, where you can go and actually opt for subjects that can help you in the field of your employability later on. But particularly in the field of commerce, which makes up a huge chunk of our society,
Absolutely.
they have no idea what they're doing. So probably if we have a clarity and a clear direction, starting from policies where we come in and do our bit, and have that clear vision for the youth of our generation, probably we can bridge that gap.
Absolutely. And I think, when you specifically mentioned about students studying accounting, finance, and management. A lot of them are interested and want to be young entrepreneurs. Okay, do you think to support that dream of being young entrepreneurs, is that infrastructure there in the education? And from your constituency, maybe, how do you feel that that bridge is being created?
See, I come from a background of a very rural constituency. We're still fighting for generic resources there. But when you talk about India itself and the education itself, like I told you, there's a lot of gap, and we need to fill those gaps. Particularly if I take myself as an example, I didn't know what to do in life. I knew I had to come into politics once, but not that early. But still, when I went on to do a degree in accounting and finance, it was just to do a degree. I came from a background of commerce. I didn't know how accounting and finance would help me grow as a businessman. I didn't know how management would help me. And particularly, to be very honest, if I went out, I've done my degree in undergraduate. One of the reasons why I didn't do a postgraduate degree was that because that wasn't teaching me, or that degree wasn't making me grow as a person in my field of expertise that I wanted to be in. So there are loopholes that we need to address as policymakers as well, and there are questions that we need to ask as younger generations as well. Where we want to do, what do we want to do, where we want to go. So there's a lot of gap. I think so. We need to comprehensively sit down and probably convert this field of education, the system of education, and revamp it to a level where our younger generation can actually contribute to India.
Yeah.
Because half of the younger generation, they're not actively involved in politics. Me being myself, I did a degree in accounting and finance, but I am no politician.
Yeah.
So that is no clear path, right? If I would have done a degree in political science, probably people would have said, okay, so to become a politician, you need to do political science. But trust me, political science is no degree to become a politician as well. So there are certain subjects we need to omit, and there are certain subjects we need to revamp as well.
Absolutely. Very interestingly, when you were speaking about your journey, something just popped up in my mind that in the generation of K-pop, how do you as a policymaker envisage the awareness, say it constitutional literacy, or be it things like the civic responsibility? How do you, as a policymaker, feel that this can be inculcated in people? Because we can speak about what is happening around the globe, but when it comes to India, in terms of being constitutionally literate, I think that's questionable. What do you think as a policymaker?
See, in terms of civic responsibility, I think so. Our generation is up there. I mean, to be very honest, sometimes there are cases, and there will always be cases where you think that this is not civically responsible. But we are doing better. We are getting better than what we were as a civic society. And by civic society, I mean those generic things that people used to do in India, now they don't. But in terms of constitutional awareness, I think so. Our generation has gotten worse in that scenario. Like I said, we don't care about politics. We don't care about who's sitting in power because we don't know much and we don't want to get involved much. I remember very often I used to say this to everybody and as well, and when I was invited to the India Today conclave as well, I said it outrightly, like, first of all, the youth of this generation, they cannot just blindly follow and accept what is on social media because the social media is being hindered a lot and is being influenced a lot.
Yeah.
So I think so to a certain extent they do understand it, but not in the level of politics. And it's much worse when media and politics get involved and the algorithm, however it suits the people and our generation particularly, how it's influencing them. So I very openly said in India Today Conclave, first of all, they have to get involved actively on the ground. They cannot disengage from politics. They have to be engaged in politics. Whatever happens in our country or anywhere in the world is due to politics.
Right.
So you have to have that understanding of politics. And I used to joke about it as well. My friends don't even know who I am, right, and what power I hold right now, which is nice. But when you're talking about constitutional awareness, they don't know that sense as well. So I have to tell them in a very layman term that, do you know Mr. Modi? Do you know Rahul Gandhi? So whatever they are, I'm also that, and we sit in the same room and discuss policies. So that's when they understand the gravity of my seat as well. So funnily enough, and this is what's been happening with our generation as well. So we have to take responsibility. We have to engage in politics. We have to understand politics. Politics is no more the old way of getting people involved, fighting, or just the rural India thing. Politics has now come to urban India as well. Politics is now, we want to engage youth as well. With the uprise in the dissent regarding the Popular Janata Party that we in India, and we're discussing this, we cannot just have a social media presence. We need to have a ground presence as well. And to be very honest, very critical of younger generations, if you ask half of the people of the Popular Janata Party to come and protest on the streets right now, I think only 30% would make it to the streets. So that's how we have become. So constitutional awareness, we should have political engagement, we should.
Well, when you say the 30%, trust you me, when it comes to any kind of a marketing campaign, I think 30% is something that most of us kind of look
Yeah.
at. Okay, coming to something and picking up from what you mentioned about youth getting involved. So, how I see it is the transition between being a beneficiary to being something which is more change maker. Do you think that a school is a better age to kind of get actively involved in this, or students after they have done graduation, they should kind of get down to political offices to have a better understanding of it? What would your advice be to those people who are wanting to be the change makers?
See, I think so. Traditionally in India, particularly to talk about India, politics and particularly student politics is frowned upon. And they're frowned upon for obvious reasons because students and politics don't go hand in hand, particularly in traditional households when you talk about students and books and studies. And the way that student politics is done in India is not how politics should be done. It is just not about outright protest. It's just not about shouting in the faces. It's just not about going there with thousands of cars and holding a rally. It is also about understanding, about getting on the table, sitting alone, drafting ideas, making policies, sitting with the vice chancellors, and bringing about a change. That does not happen in India. So apparently, there's also a lot of dissent among students because a lot of university elections are not happening in India right now, and a lot of student bodies are just lying there. But they need to bring about that change. We have to have that change, especially coming from good individual, good youths. That it is politics is majorly done with a pen and a paper in a closed door meeting, rather than on ground and just outrightly fighting and protesting. That is half part of it. But the actual part, the actual change that comes about, like you were saying, change from a beneficiary to a policy maker, that policy maker part actually is for that only. And we need to understand that. And half of the students don't do that. And after being actively involved in politics, that's what I understood as well. That much more important is that part. And we need to sit down. Constitutional awareness, like you were talking about, first of all, it starts right there. So if I have chosen a path in politics, that does not mean that I am the only one who is turned from a beneficiary to a policy maker. Anybody can do that. Anybody who has that knowledge of an issue, who wants to make a change, who wants to get involved, can become a policy maker as well. In fact, we've got a very fantastic team of young individuals who help us as well to draft policies, to draft bills, or to bring amendments to a bill. So it's not a one-man show. It is a combined effort from a team of young individuals. Particularly with this talk, I would like to address the young and youth of this generation, particularly of India, because I think we account about, I don't know, 60% or 65% of the population right now, and that's a huge potential right now.
Absolutely.
And if we get actively involved, I think so, the stature of India, the economics of India, the infrastructure of India, and the future of India can become very, very bright.
Absolutely, there's a lot of positivity there in that sense, and I just hope that resonates in all our viewers. Coming towards the end of our conversation, Something that I picked up from the conversation is that youth today is politically disillusioned. Okay. For first time voters, any piece of advice that you would want to give?
First time voters, the first piece of advice is go out and vote. Get your voter ID card, go out and vote. Make a stand that, okay, you're a part of this country, you're a citizen of this country, so it is your responsibility to get involved into the betterment of the country. Half of the individuals don't even vote, and my friends or my colleagues, or probably your colleagues as well, they don't even know if they have a voter ID card or not. So, first step is go out and vote. Second step is have that awareness, what we were talking about what is going on in India. And I think so. It's after for the past decade, India, everything has been involved into politics. Everything is politics now. Even a small issue, if you're eating a chicken patty or a momo, it's politics now in India. So probably a tea and a coffee is politics. So even everything is politics around you. You also have to get political and have that awareness. Be different. Don't get yourself involved into chai coffee politics. Get yourself involved into how you can make the country better, how you can use your education, how can our generation use ourselves as an asset to the country.
Great. Thank you so much, Pushpendra, for your time. And while we discuss over a cup of coffee, don't forget to like and subscribe to EduTalks by AB. And in the comment, do let us know what area of studies you want to know more about so that I can get to people to help you firm up your future higher education journey.